Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Duff Gardner. Duff brings startup thinking to the transformation world. He draws strength from his modern family, and he is an award-winning 7-figure marketer, startup founder, and Silicon Valley educated digital executive. And he helps impact-driven entrepreneurs create offers that sell. This is important for all of us entrepreneurs, offers that actually sell. He lives on the west coast of Canada in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. He's a graduate of Carnegie Mellon in Silicon Valley with an MSc in Learning Sciences and Information Technology. And in his free time, if he even has any free time, he's a passionate advocate for his 2 adult kids, pitbull rescue and adoption, and LGBTQ rights. So welcome, Duff. I can appreciate all those things. And I actually have a beautiful pit bull rescue. And what I can say about pit bulls is they're the most loving, docile animal that I've ever met. And all that this dog wants is love.
Absolutely. And thank you, Tammy, for having me on the show. My pitty's name is Seamus, and he is a lamb. There's not a blanket or a pillow he does not like. Just an interesting thing. He is in 8 parades a year in Victoria. And he's actually a little bit of a local celebrity, but he's from San Bernardino, California. And he was rescued all the way from down there. So anyway, thank you for mentioning Seamus. I'm a big advocate of shop, don't adopt.
Well, I think that's important. And it's, our conversation is going to go on the other side of all of this, but I think it's important that pit bull rescue and adoption, I think, is really important that we, help that particular breed, because people, they think about them things that are totally wrong. But I'm really interested in the concept. 2 things about you that really stand out to me is you talk about the irresistible offer, that it's dead, and then you also have the impact scorecard. And those are all really important things. So let's start with the idea about that irresistible offer and why you say it's dead.
Thanks, Tammy. The idea of an irresistible offer is a good idea. The challenge is in implementing the idea. So what happens to folks is when they want to grow their business online, they want some part of their business to be online. They start to learn, they start to jump into getting coached on how to do this. And the first thing that happens is they try to set up perfect messaging. Because the idea of irresistibility by its very word makes you start thinking, like, how do I become irresistible? It puts you in the position of trying to come up with the perfect messaging. When you do that, it just naturally ends up getting, it tends to get dismissed by the marketplace. It's like if you're a football player, you know the concept of threading the needle. It's like trying to throw the football through a whole bunch of defenders. It's got to be the absolute perfect pass. Can it happen? Yes. But does it tend to happen en masse? Not so much. When that happens, of course, what happens is when people dismiss our offers, we start to build this internal resistance, and it just becomes a circular process that goes around and around and around. So what I do is with my clients, I talk about the idea of being investable instead. Like, I come from the startup world, and in the startup world, when you're founding a company and you're trying to get people to invest in you, to invest in what you're doing, it's about being, you want people to know, like, but also trust. You want them to trust you with their hard-earned money. So when you think about the idea of being investable instead, things start to change. You actually start to stand in your value. The marketplace starts to appreciate the value that you offer. And so instead of that internal resistance, you start to see expansion in your business. So I like to focus on being investable versus irresistible. And then to me, it's almost like a push versus a pull. Like, we want people to be attracted to us, but the idea of irresistibility has become this thing that actually gets in the way of us doing that.
Well, I think you said it, because you said, if you're trying to be irresistible and you're trying to come up with the perfect message, the word perfect just ended all hopes of even moving forward. And I like that, become investable. So how do you go about learning what your marketplace is going to find investable?
Good question. The things that I focus on, and of course, the idea here is that, we want to make an impact with our offers. Like, we want our business to make an impact with others. So the two things that I find are really important in that conversation are, number one, learning how to stand in your value. So as we create offers and we start to think about how we're going to ask people to invest in our coaching, our training, our courses, whatever the case may be, what happens is that our relationship to money starts to come into play. And so there's this concept in the startup world called value proposition, where you have to sort out how you explain the value to others about what you're offering. And so I take people down a path to being super clear on how they stand in their value. So I can give you a quick little example. Like, I had a client that struggled with this. She was an investment banker and she was becoming a feng shui expert. It was kind of a lifestyle choice change. And so she was struggling with pricing. And what she ended up doing was just benchmarking her price to what everybody told her would be a reasonable price to charge for her services. Instead, I said to her, well, go and tell me about somebody that you've helped. So she had helped a friend whose husband had taken a job way across the country. And they couldn't sell their house. It had been on the market for a year and a half. They were thinking of selling it under market. The company was fractured. They were all over the country. It was very stressful. She went in and did one clearing with them. They sold in a week and a half over market. So I said, when you're thinking about the value of what you offer and you start thinking about your pricing, let's talk about how you feel. Like, let's talk about your relationship to that idea. Let's get super clear on that. And then let's come up with the pricing. So, like, that's an example of how you can stand in your value versus just benchmarking your price. That's a really important part of how you determine what you might charge to your clients. Another thing is, how do you stand out as a unique person? And so that involves 5 steps, actually, the way that I think about it. Number one is you want to have a system that makes people curious and fascinated and interesting and lean into it. Like, what is your interesting system? The way that you come up with that system is a little bit of your own ingenuity, but it's also going out and getting feedback from the marketplace. So that marketplace, you have to be clear on your avatar. So getting the right feedback from the right person. So that's step number 2. 3 is clearly articulating your transformation. Number 4 is your personal story. So what is that? And number 5 is having some kind of a provocative premise. That's why TED Talks are so popular, because those are basically that. And so you want to be able to sort out those 5 things, and that's how you communicate to the market. So the stand in your value idea is an internal compass. The external is to go out and solicit feedback in the right way so that you can communicate a unique vision of what you're going to provide to people. The other thing I would say is that the way that we determine and get the feedback and understand who's our market or who is our ideal client is changing quite a bit. So the way that you get that feedback is, a little bit of it is just asking the question, not turning their exact words into generalized feedback. But also a little bit of it is, some of the new techniques like retargeting that if you have a more advanced business and understanding it that way.
It's interesting that the example person that you told the story about was a financial advisor going into a heart-centered profession.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our listeners who follow me are heart-centered professionals, and they have the problem that you're describing. You are somebody that every one of my listeners needs to talk to, because they have this problem of, how do I price my services?
Mm-hmm.
What is the transformation? And many times they're unclear about who their ideal customer is or their avatar. And they struggle with all of those 5 things that you're talking about. So I just find it interesting that we're having this conversation. And you also mentioned money and our relationship with money.
Yeah.
Because I find that all of those things are things people struggle with. So you have come up with the impact scorecard, which is something that helps people do what exactly?
Thanks, Tammy. So we've come up with this thing called the impact scorecard. And again, I kind of come from the startup world, and there's a rigor to the process of a startup that I find in the transformation world, we want to step over it, and just kind of get out there and start talking to people. So what the impact scorecard does is it looks at some of the key performance indicators, not data-driven ones, but actually more soft indicators of where you're applying the focus in your business. So it's technically speaking a performance scorecard. I don't believe there's actually currently any other performance scorecard in the coaching and transformation industry. And so when you answer the questions, it's like a quick little 20-question survey. It literally takes you 3 minutes to finish. But what it does is it gives you an indication of where you're applying focus in your business and where you might need to shore it up. So it breaks it up into 5 different categories. Where in your business are we seeing traction? Where are some leverage points that you can apply in your business? How are you applying creativity? Like, are you nimble and adaptive in terms of how you are moving the business forward? How are you executing on your plan? And then the last one is to what degree are you exhibiting resolve in the business going forward? And so it's a quick and dirty little way to take a look at the performance of your business and get a sense of in which of those 5 categories you might need to apply more effort, focus, or strategy.
So if somebody wants to take that, is it a quiz? Is it free? Is there a cost? And where can they find it?
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. They can just go to theimpactscorecard.com. So if you go to theimpactscorecard.com, that's very simple. You just register. It's completely free. Just go through, answer the questions, and it gives you a little bit of a report at the end. And yeah, it's pretty cool and nice and simple. So I'm quite proud of that. That's based on a bunch of research that I did back when I was in grad school, and then applying it. I've added some Ericksonian psychology thinking. It's part of that's what I geek out on, and also some startup thinking. So it's kind of cool. I'm quite proud of it. So yeah, feel free to go and take it.
theimpactscorecard.com. I'm going to go take it because I like the idea that it's divided up into 5 different focus points, because some of us, we're really strong in certain areas of our business and we're really weak in other ones. And people in the coaching and transformation business, often we don't have any solid direction, or we're in that, going back to what we started talking about, that irresistible offer. We're stuck in that perfectionism.
Right.
And you also mentioned our story. Tell me a little bit about how you feel about sharing our stories, and how do you choose the story in order to have that impact on your business?
Like your own personal story, you mean? Is that?
Yeah, your personal story, your business story. How do you weave it in? And if you have any examples, either
For sure.
for yourself, I would really be interested, because you also mentioned the famous know, like, trust.
Right. For sure. So I can actually link all these things together. So when I work with clients, the way I talk about it is your clients are living on this place called Planet Lack. They're not happy. It's kind of crappy. They're not enjoying life. And we break it down a little bit further than that, but that's basically where it's at. We actually name that planet. And then you have a rocket ship, which is your program. And in that rocket ship, there's different things that you do. There's maybe like themes and concepts that you teach, but you're taking people over to Planet Love. And that's where things are amazing and they're wonderful. When you're on Planet Love for a while, you actually will transcend that experience eventually and live on a mountaintop, which is when you've transcended the simple benefits of that. So how your personal story connects to all that is that you actually your story intersects with people on Planet Lack. So in other words, there's something about your personal story that is going to connect with people on Planet Lack. And that's the way that you need to think about the front end of your marketing. So it's really important that you get in touch with your own journey. There's an insight in your journey that is the exact insight that people on Planet Lack are looking for. So it may not be the facts of your story, but it's the insight within your story. And that is the thing that is going to emotionally connect with people who are living on Planet Lack. So when I work with people, it's actually really important that you establish that. So for example, like if you're, let's use the feng shui expert that we talked about earlier, investment banker to feng shui expert. You can't really sell, you can. Ideally, selling feng shui is not necessarily the best because it's a thing, it's a widget in a lot of people's minds. So what is the transformation? So if her transformation was investment banker to feng shui, what's the insight what is the insight that she found in making that transformation or going through that transformation that will connect with people who have a similar issue? Was it that she was bullied at work? Was it that, the passion wasn't in her work? Whatever that insight is, that's what's going to connect with ideal clients. And that's what you have to articulate at the very front end of your marketing. So that might look like Facebook ads, or it might look like webinar messaging, or lead magnet messaging, that kind of thing.
That's real. Like I said, it's really interesting. And I like the idea that you can have these conversations with people. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and work with you, what's the best way to do that?
Oh, thanks, Tammy. You can go, you should try out the impactscorecard.com. So that's the impactscorecard.com. I'm really interested in what people think about that. You can go to duffgardner.com. So that's DUFF. And then Gardner is GARDNER.com. And there's a bunch of things there you can do as well. So either of those two things are fine. And thank you.
Great. So the impactscorecard.com, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And with that, again, thanks so much for talking about the irresistible offer and everything that you do, because I think that it's very eye-opening for people that they just need to step back and start looking at, this whole picture. And then, of course, because you have the impact scorecard,
right,
you can help people to go, oh, this is what I need to be looking at right now. And then, of course, you're available to talk to them, because it's your background in that startup world, I think, makes you really unique, because a lot of people, maybe they come from, corporate, or a lot of our listeners are in that heart-centered entrepreneurial world where they've never even seen themselves as business people, because they're connected at a different level of consciousness. And then they're going, well, how do I do this? How do I ask for money? How do I create a real business that is sustainable? So what I really like about everything you've talked about is, you've got like you said, a plan a path to transformation that is grounded in the business world, but you're able to talk to these people who are in that coaching and transformational world. So I think that that's really important. So before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, I have an expression I always say, which is teach what you love and live from your truth, which I think we all should adopt. And I believe that passionately. And I would also say to your listeners, like, a lot of you are going to be confused. You have some good ideas. You just don't know where they go in your marketing. So I really try to get people to not throw the baby out with the bathwater and, just understand where they go in your marketing. And I think that's usually the case. So that's typically what I bring to people, is a bit of clarity where that goes. And I appreciate the opportunity today to kind of express that through your questions. And I've enjoyed the conversation, Tammy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Everybody, make sure you go check out duffgardner.com or the impactscorecard.com. Use these tools because you're able to use all of Duff's, thoughts and all of his education and the creativity that it took to create these things. So you're going to benefit from that. And then if you get the opportunity, reach out to him and have a conversation and see where that leads. So this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.